Thank you for joining us on Tree Doctors today. I'm your host, John Passmore, and on today's program, I'll be going with Ed Dickey throughout the entire viewing area as we look at some old trees, some beautiful trees, and tell you how you can take care of your trees. It's all coming up next on Tree Doctors.
The tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject a zap back in your tree's sap. Research has showed that ice-damaged trees are stressed, and stressed trees lead to insect and disease attacks. Micro tree injection is the answer for your trees. Micro tree injection is a closed system, delivering the exact dose of systemic chemical directly to the sap stream of the tree. Once the problem is identified, the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service can inject vitamins, minerals, or insecticide directly into the sap stream of your trees. This bypasses the roots and provides immediate results. Micro tree injection has been university tested and field proven for over 35 years. After the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service treat your trees, you receive a written 1-year guarantee. We won't treat a tree we don't think we can help. Let the tree doctors at Dickey Tree Service put the zap back in your tree's sap.
Let's go back into the field with the head tree doctor of Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey, on Tree Doctors. I'm here in Jonesboro at the home of Dwayne and Madrid Groves. Dwayne had called me in to treat this old pecan tree here. Tell us a little bit about this pecan tree, Dwayne.
Well, it's been here for a long time, and I've had it trimmed back a couple of times, but it looked like the leaves was falling too fast for me, and I was afraid that there might be something wrong with it. So I called you, and you come to have a look at it.
Right, and we found out we had an insect problem. You had me treat it for that.
That's exactly right.
While I was here, I noticed that Dwayne, he's a expert woodworkman, and he has made, in the camera, show a little bit of stuff in the backyard. I can walk right here, and this is a, tell us what this is, Dwayne.
Well, you call it a pyramid trellis, or you can call it an obelisk, but it's just a trellis for vines to grow on.
Yeah, I purchased one of these from Dwayne while I was here, and my wife just loves it, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to put a vine going on in there, and what do you make this out of?
This one's out of treated pine, but most of the stuff that I build's out of western red cedar.
Western red cedar, that's last a long time, and we'll go over here to the deck area. You got a lot of other stuff. All of this is in this big tree, the pecan tree that I treated, is right in his backyard and hanging over all this. So when the insects got to it, it got to dripping and transpiring on all this neat stuff, and that's why he wanted the attention gave to the tree. As you can see, the camera showing his nice stuff he made around the deck. Tell a little bit about what went on around that deck area, Dwayne.
Well, the deck just started out one day. It was just nothing, and I decided I was just going to define the area a little bit, and so I built a couple planters and a couple benches, and there was a fella in here not too long ago, and he asked me, he said, "You build all that?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, looked like you got started and couldn't stop." And, you know, just one thing led to another.
I tell you what, you got a gorgeous backyard, and right down here, beside us, tell me what this is here that you've done here.
A little yard planter. I like to call it instant landscaping. You take this planter and you go out there and you throw it in the yard and you put a flower in the middle of it and it's landscaped.
Right, and it's lightweight, easy to move, but it's stationary enough that it'll stay there. And you can see the live plant here that he's got in the middle. And I asked Dwayne as he entertained the thought of making one that unlatched. That would be a great way to put new trees in. Just latch it around your tree, and then later on, it's not a wasted planter. You can move it to another one, and it will protect.
After he was over here the other day, I started doing the design work. I've got one in the process, And I should have one here in a couple of weeks that you could put around a new plant. You could take it apart and pull it inside to do maintenance on it if you need to. And when the plant gets big enough or the tree gets big enough and you want to move it, you can just take it off and move it to another location and you just keep using it. These things ought to last for 15 or 20 years anyway.
Oh, especially with being made out of that cedar, and it got a cool smell to them, and there's something about a cedar that kind of repels the insects a little bit too.
Well, according to everything I read, cedar is nature's perfect wood. It resists all kinds of rot and decay, and the insects don't like it.
Well, that's exactly right. That's why our grandmas and everybody put stuff in the cedar chest.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. On behind me here too is some planters. Tell us a little bit about them planters that you did there.
Well, my wife wanted a rose garden, and I had to be able to build something that I could take care of. So I built just a couple of little old raised planters there, and we put roses in them. And it's easy to take care of. You just weed eat around it, mulch inside, and that's the end of it. You ain't got to worry about taking a weed eater till your roses in there, because you've got them mulched, and you just pick a few weeds out and everything's okay.
That's a great way to have a special flower or tree or a rose or whatever. And you got a little gazebo here with a bench in it, kind of a meditation type area. And what's that made out of?
Well, that's all treated pine there.
So if somebody wanted to contact you about this, how would they go about doing that, Dwayne?
Well, they can reach me at 870-931-6321, or they could just send some mail to 310 Mallory Court, Dwayne Groves, Jonesboro, Arkansas 72401.
Good deal. Or if you missed all that, you can call our office, and we'll pass that number on to you. And you can come by and look at what Dwayne's got going on. I think it's worth looking at if you care about your trees and your plants in your yard. Here's a man that can probably custom make something for you if you want it done. Is that right?
Yeah, we'd be happy for anybody to come by and look at it anytime they want to. You know, I'm here about all the time, and all they have to do is just drop in.
I'm here in Kennett, Missouri at the home of Dolph Riggs, and here behind us is a big old oak tree. And Dolph, why don't you tell me a little bit something about this tree?
Well, the tree I'm estimating is well over 100 years old. It's one of the finer trees in Kennett, except Mother Nature's taken its course on it, and the insects have eaten to the inside of it.
That's right. Several years ago, Dolph had me treat this tree, and I informed him at that time it was actually a hazard to the resident, and Dolph understood that, and we treated it, and he's left the tree remaining here, and I told him a good wind could get it one day, but he wants to enjoy the tree until the tree is gone. I think I'm speaking correctly. Correct me if I'm not, Dolph. And I think it's been about 7 or 8 years since I made that statement.
It has been, and it appears to have some more growth and strength to the outside, north side, back side of the tree, as I'd refer to it.
Yeah, it seems to be. It's still weak in places, and people need to understand there is a hazard to this, and it's not for everyone, but Dolph's a sportsman, and most people know him from the rig stores that he has around. And since I brought that up, Dolph, was it your granddad that started the rig stores?
It was actually my great-great-grandfather in 1859 up in Fredericktown, Missouri, then moved to Kennett in 1889.
So Dolph, just like this tree, and your stores have a longer history in this part of the country than that, don't they? How many stores do you have now?
6 stores. We cover Missouri, Tennessee, and Arkansas, and of course the fringe of southern Illinois and western Kentucky. And it's a good family business, and it's just like yours, a family business. It's been going for quite a few years, and we make our effort to do best for our customers.
Oh, you sure do. I love a rig store. I really do. You got everything there. What towns are they in now, Dolph?
Kennett, Sikeston, Poplar Bluff in Missouri, Dyersburg in Tennessee, and then West Memphis and Paragould, Arkansas.
That's great. A long history of family business, and he takes care of his trees too, folks. An old family tree. That's the theme of our show, Dolph, family trees. And I'm just tickled that you took a minute to talk to me about your trees.
Well, it's truly a family tree, because if you can see all the wood ducks that come into this tree and nest each year and raise, and at one time, along with our local ducks we have, our family ducks, we want to call that, tame ducks, wood ducks are all over this yard. It's a pleasure to see.
That is great, and you can tell the camera won't do justice out the nice yard that Dolph and his wife have here. But it's he's got ducks, even got a rooster over here that he said wandered in here, and so you kind of adopted it too, haven't you, Dolph?
Yes, we have, and I guarantee you don't need an alarm clock here any longer. You know when the sun's getting ready to come up because the rooster will crow.
Dolph, you've got so many beautiful trees in your yard. This is a Colorado blue spruce. You got a neat little story to tell about this. Tell me about this blue spruce.
Yes, it is. It's one that I attended a Harley-Davidson rally out west back about 1985, and stopped by a shop, and they had the trees in small planters out front. And I bought this tree and tied it on the back of my Harley, and it made its trip all the way back from South Dakota to Kennett, Missouri, planted in the front yard. And as you can see by its height now, it is really done well.
So it's about 18-year-old Colorado blue spruce, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's a Harley tree, you could almost say.
You betcha. And, you know, Harley can be proud. They make a good cycle, and they did good with the spruce, too.
Absolutely.
This is such a beautiful shaded yard. There's not very many places you can go in this big yard that it's not shady and beautiful flowers and plants. And tell me a little bit about the landscape and the trees and plants you have here, Don.
Well, of course, I'd like to brag and say the majority of all the plants we have came from the Riggs Garden Center, which we have open each spring until up around hot weather when we've pretty well gone through that cycle. But the various items such as the bird bath that's over here and the treated wood fence is something we stock year-round, and have a lot of folks that come to us to see what decorative items they can put in their yard. Even though the planting season may be over with, they still have fencing to do and landscaping, as well as lawn edging and so forth. It's a good addition to the hardware business.
Yes, sir, and you really you make a point to handle a good product. Looks like you might near try everything before you put it in your store, kind of, don't you?
I do, and I really don't have a green thumb, so if it'll come up and live for me, then it's got to be a hardy plant.
There you go. I like that trial and error, getting something that works right, and you can definitely see he's got something going on here. What have you done here chip-wise around your low-growing plants here, Don?
Well, this year we've gone to something new that's been quite popular. It's the colored pine bark mulch. This is the black, and then there was also a cedar red that was extremely popular this year, getting away from the regular pine bark mulch color.
Right, and the pine bark, it doesn't present the problems in the future as the other hardwood stuff. The pine bark, my reading on that, if memory serves me correctly, is it's quite adaptable to the landscape.
Yes, it is. And then also we have available the cypress mulch, and cypress does quite well, and that's a natural mulch from a natural tree in this part of the world.
You betcha, it's a cypress country. A lot of people forget that, but this was swampy, and we had humongous cypress trees for years around here. In fact, the redwood still does quite well, even here in Kennett. We got some big ones. Well, you really got it going on here, Dolph. I think these blocks that you use for edging, is that from your store, or is that just something you come up with?
No, that's something I came up with, and so many times we get over in the hill country, the farmers are more than happy to have you pick up a truckload of it, a pickup load, and get it out of their way.
Well, that's great. That's making use of our natural resources and to the best. And I just thank you again for taking a minute to talk to our folks about your yard and your trees.
Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate you all being here because our yards are one of our most important assets we have in our homes.
Yes, sir, I agree. I'm here with Dorothy Mason in a small community of Gainesville, just a little north of Paragould, and I want to talk a little bit about the trees here and the lightning problem she's had in the past. Miss Mason, won't you tell a little bit about what went on with your lightning here a few years ago?
Well, it struck the house 2 or 3 different times, and I've had little resistors on it, and so then you came put this deal in, and you know it's not done anything since. Never hit it since you put that in there.
Yes, ma'am. It actually arrests the lightning and sends it down in the ground. I think you said you had the co-op come and put a device on your line, and that still didn't help, did it?
No. And somebody else did, but I can't remember who that was. Put another one on there for me.
Yes, ma'am. It's been over a year, and we put that lightning arrestor in the middle of last summer, and I think it kind of speaks for itself. We picked the tallest tree close to a residence, and it'll protect not only that tree, but the trees around it for about 500 foot. And do you feel more at ease, Miss Mason, when it storms?
Yes, I do, yes. I think it's going to take care of it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I want to thank you for taking a minute and talking about it, and we'll check back with you in a few more years and make sure you're still happy with it. You know, it's hard to enjoy your backyard without seeing some bugs and some worms, and like this little woolly worm here. It's a lot of people use it to forecast the winter, and some of the old wise tales is true. Some has a little substance, but irregardless, they're bugs. Reason I'm bringing that up right here by me, this ash tree I'm sitting under, you can see the cuttings where the boars have been working on this ash tree. Before the recent rain, you could actually just reach down with your hand and pick them up, whole hands full. We just recently treated this tree here a week or so ago, and fixing to show you on the other side what the boar looks like coming out of the tree. But you can see the little bore holes here all through the tree. It's just riddled. It's one of the worst cases I've ever seen on the ash. And the product we used worked great. We did a soil injection drench around it and got rid of the boar problem. But your yard is a place to enjoy, and your trees, of course, too. And there's ways to keep your trees in check. And you contact us, we'll help you straighten that out so you can enjoy your yard.
You can join us for Tree Doctors every Saturday and Sunday morning at 6 o'clock. Now let's take a break, but we'll be back right after these messages.
Hello, I'm Ed Dickey, the tree doctor at Dickey Tree Service. I'm coming to you from inside of a tree. We've been getting inside of trees for 35 years. We get to the root of the problem. Give us a call. We know how to save your trees. We put the chemical where it needs to be, inside your tree, taking care of insect and disease problems. We're often imitated, but never duplicated. We've been doing this 35 years. We know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service. It's not hard to see what killed these trees. It was boerworms. The boar is a hard insect to control, virtually untouched with spraying and other applications. But with systemic injection, when the boar eats the tree, the boar dies. Trees are dying all over, but we've got the cure. We give a 1-year guarantee when we treat your trees for the boars. We've been doing this 35 years and we know what we're doing. Give us a call. We're the tree doctors, Dickey Tree Service, in your yellow pages under trees.
Let's go back into the field with the head tree doctor of Dickey Tree Service, Ed Dickey, on Tree Doctors.
This is a weeping mulberry. You've seen them around a lot of homes, and this year and a few past years we've had a lot of problems. You can see the insect build up here on the, you just wipe it off. It's a sucking insect that pulls the plant down, and a simple insecticide application and wait about 10 days and do it again, spray it down good to kill this and save this plant. If something's not done pretty quick, it's just going to completely defoliate this plant, and the biggest part of it's going to die. The sister plant right here next door to it, it's been going on a little bit longer, it's a little worser, and they've just about lost this plant. If they hurry and get busy, they can probably turn this around. Feed it a little bit, bring it back, nurse it back, and still make it a viable plant. But keep an eye on your plants. This has been going on a little while. Just didn't happen overnight. There's stuff you can do about it, and you need to address that. We're at the home of Glenda and Bobby Robinson, a little bit south of Steele, and she's got a beautiful landscape yard here and a bunch of old trees. And Glenda, tell me a little bit about that tree that's standing behind us.
Okay, this was originally Bobby's grandparents' home place. Not their home place, but they had bought this particular farm. And Bobby's mother and her 5 children had moved here. And this was back in '48, I believe it was. And she planted this tree. So I wanted to do something in memory of her and Mr. and Miss Wingfield, which was his grandparents. And that's how the bench came about.
Well, I think that's just great. And the interesting point you told me earlier about this tree is what happened when the tree was little?
She had planted the tree, and a cow had gotten out of one of the pastures in the area and came and chewed the tree. It was just one cane sticking up. And the youngest son wanted to pull it up and make a bow and arrow out of it. And she said, no, we'll put the tree back in the ground and see what it does. Well, this is the tree.
Well, that's great. This is truly your family tree. This is a theme of our TV show. And so this tree is over 50 years old.
Yes, yes.
And so it's the oldest tree, I guess, in your yard, isn't it?
Right. The house spot was here, and we had recently torn it down after she passed away.
Yes, ma'am. An earlier program, I showed one of the boar carcasses. When I treated this tree, your son had me treat these, and that I'd pulled out of the side of that tree. But we got it in good shape, and they're all looking good. But this bench and this nice garden you got going on here is it's a good place to sit and think and enjoy your yard, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it really is.
You did a great job with it, and I want to thank you, Glenda, for taking a minute to talk to us about it.
All right, thank you.
Here you can see we put this bracing rod in this oak tree about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's right at the base of this wood duck house that the homeowner put up here. And you can see it's already closed over and closed over the end of the rod and the nut. You can't even see it. Tree's a lot stronger. You can see why we had to do it. It had a weak crotch in it. But the tree from now on out is going to be fine. And without me telling you it's up there, you'd have never known it. And that's what it should be done when it's done properly. So if you get one done, make sure it's done properly. I'm here in Steele, Missouri with the former Superintendent Bill Lewis here at the school. And years ago, when I had a trimming crew division, we worked a lot on these grounds out here, and I've knew Bill for years. And Bill, tell us a little bit about this big tree behind us.
I've got pictures in the office when that tree was about that big. And that building right there was built in 1922, and that tree was here then. That's a centennial tree. It's a historical tree. It's been there a long time.
Right, yeah, it's well over 100 years old. Also, I noticed this bench was dedicated by the student council in 58 or 59. What year did you come here?
I came here in 1959 and retired in 1988. 32 years or whatever that figures out.
That's a long time. You was here forever. A good superintendent too, by the way. I noticed also on the walks that I think the University of Arkansas does something similar, don't they? The senior class.
That's right, and that's about where we got our idea to do that, really. We knew they did, and Miss Betty Horn was our sponsor that graduated from the university, and we started when we built the new buildings here in 1964. When we went in, Holland came in, Holland and we merged, and we've been doing that ever since. So every kid that's ever graduated since 1964's name's in concrete on that sidewalk. It started way out front out there, and it's
leads all the way on?
All the way across there. That's average class size, probably about 45.
I'll be doggone. Well, that was a wonderful idea, and still working and going on today. I mean, that is really cool. And
kids look forward to that. Come back, and you can see them every time there's a reunion. They're out here looking at their name, making pictures, and bringing families with them, this kind of thing. Many of the kids that I taught have already retired, Ed. That's hard to believe.
I'll be doggone. Yeah. Well, the cool thing is that when they come back, this old tree was here when they were in school.
It's still here. That's right.
First time I worked on this tree for you was about probably 28 or 30 years ago, and a few times since then. But that tree has received care over the years.
Yes. Been well taken care of.
Well, it needs to be. It's an old historic tree, and we'll move around here in a minute with the camera and show just how big this tree we're talking about is, because the camera don't do it justice here at this angle. But I wanted the viewers to see the nice bench that the class that goes now can use, and also it shows them who went here before. Now, how long have you been retired?
Since '88.
Since '88, yeah. Still feels like coming home, doesn't it?
Still great to not have to get up in the morning about 8 o'clock, go to bed about 12. That's my schedule.
Well, how in the world are you going to get up and watch this show at 6 o'clock in the morning?
I'll have to get my son-in-law to give me a videotape, maybe.
Okay, that'll work. We moved around here to the side of this big old tree here in Steele, Missouri, and Bill, this back when you was superintendent, and you had me treat this tree. I guess that was way over 25 years ago.
Over 20 years ago, for sure, and yeah, you came down and injected that tree with about, I don't know, the bill at that time was about $250, which I'm sure it'd probably be $600 now if we did it again.
Oh, we ain't going up that much.
But 18 feet across that tree, and I don't know what it'd be around it, but it'd be a bunch of them.
Boy, it's a big tree, and it's grown some since then, too. The great thing about it is you got to see firsthand the results of the tree injection way back years ago, and I think it was, it might have been closer to 25 or 28 years ago. It's been a while.
We probably put some Nutri-Treat around that thing too, Ed. You know, the fertilizer that you used many years ago.
That's true. I'd forgotten that. And so the tree's got a little bit of extra care over the years, and Bill was a great superintendent. Worked with a lot of superintendents in the area, but he was tree-minded, and you could tell it with the campus. They passed on to this superintendent now in place, and I've worked for him too, by the way. The established trees, they lost a few elms over the years. Bill and I was just talking about from the Dutch elm disease, and a couple of oaks down the front. But other than that, basically a lot of the older trees hadn't had no lightning or bad luck.
We've been very fortunate. These trees over here were all put in there by the student council. Each year they would, for many years there, we tried to use our money that they earned through the sales of soft drinks and that sort of thing. Their fundraising money went for projects that were of benefit to the whole school. They didn't use it frivolously, and each year we put out trees, we built benches, sidewalks that they paid for out of money that they'd earned in the usually in the concession stands primarily, because we didn't do a lot of fundraising around here.
Right. Well, that is wonderful, and it's paid off for the students, like you say, that we talked earlier, coming back and to visit. They could actually see what their endeavors brought about, and it's just great to come back here and look at some of the past work. And a big old tree like this, there's not too many like this around.
Not in this part of the world, Ed. They seem to cut them as fast as they can to get them off of the turn rows so they can put in pivot irrigation, and we're quickly going to be shy a lot of trees, and one of these days it'd be like you're driving out in Texas somewhere. You see for miles, not even see a tree, but you see a lot of irrigation.
Yeah, we need to take care of what trees we got if we can. But Bill, I appreciate you taking a minute and talking to us about this, and it awoke a lot of memories in me just coming back and getting with you.
Good to see you, Ed. Really appreciate you giving me a chance to reminisce with you about the old trees.
Thank you.
Did we not answer your questions today on the program? Well, if not, you can go to dickeytree.com or give us a call at the number listed below. Ed Dickey will answer your questions personally. Thank you so much for joining us on the program today, and we'll see you next week on Tree Doctors.
Okay.